Have you ever tried to quit sugar? You power through a few miserable days and then you just stop and wonder, what is actually happening inside my body right now? Is this whole thing even worth it? Well, today we're going to break down that entire journey from the brutal beginning all the way to the surprising payoff. Okay, let's get into it.
So first, let's just set the stage a little. We all kind of know we probably eat too much sugar, but the reality? It's often way, way sweeter, and not in a good way. The official dietary guidelines, they recommend getting less than 10% of our daily calories from added sugar. So what do you think the average actually is?
You might want to sit down for this. The average American consumes up to 22 teaspoons of added sugar every single day. That's around 92 grams, which just blows the recommendations out of the water. And this isn't the sugar you're consciously adding yourself. It's the stuff that's already in processed foods that just adds up like crazy.
But hey, this isn't just about some numbers on a nutrition label. That hidden sugar adds up and, well, the health stakes are incredibly high.
And we are not just talking about a few cavities here. The scope of the damage is pretty staggering. High sugar intake is, of course, a huge contributor to things like obesity, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease. But it also fuels these less visible problems, like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and maybe the biggest one of all, chronic inflammation, which is basically an immune reaction that's at the root of so many modern illnesses.
The real villain here isn't the birthday cake or the occasional cookie you have. It's the sugar that's lurking in foods we don't even think of as sweets. These are the products that build that 22 teaspoon a day average without us even noticing. And it's pretty shocking when you actually look at the numbers. Think about that healthy, low-fat yogurt you might grab for breakfast. It can be packing a whopping 24 grams of sugar. Now, add a glass of cranberry juice to that, and boom, you've already gone past your recommended daily limit before you've even had lunch. Wild. So, how do food manufacturers get away with all this? Simple. They use aliases. There are over 50, that's 50, different names for added sugar on food labels. High fructose corn syrup, dextrose, rice syrup. I mean, come on. It's all just sugar in disguise, and it makes it incredibly difficult for anyone to track how much they're really eating. Okay, so what happens if you decide, that's it, I'm fighting back, I'm cutting it all out? What can you really expect? Well, you should probably be prepared because the first 2 weeks are often described as, well, an ordeal. This quote from a Reddit user just captures that initial struggle so perfectly. It's such a common experience. The headaches, the fatigue, and those absolutely relentless cravings. Your body is adjusting, for sure, and it is not always a fun ride. What's interesting is that this whole experience follows a surprisingly predictable pattern. Days 1 to 3, the absolute toughest. Your body is basically screaming for what it's missing. But if you can just push through, there's usually a turning point right around day 5 or 7. That's when your energy starts to even out, and by the 2-week mark, you're stepping into a new normal where those cravings just don't control you anymore. So what's the science behind all this? Well, Dr. Vijaya Sarampede from UCLA Health explains that sugar stimulates dopamine, that's the pleasure neurotransmitter. When your blood sugar levels come down after that rush, you get that infamous crash, which then triggers your brain to demand more sugar for another quick energy hit. It's a really powerful loop your body gets stuck in. The good news is you are not helpless in this fight. Not at all. Think of this as your survival toolkit. Honestly, simple things are your best weapons here. Stay hydrated, because thirst often pretends it's a sugar craving. Fuel up with protein to stay full. Have healthy snacks, like fruit, not seeds, ready for emergencies. And please, never underestimate the power of a good night's sleep, or just a simple distraction to break that craving cycle. And now for the good part. If you actually make it through the ordeal, what's the reward on the other side? Well, this is where things get really, really exciting, with benefits that go way beyond just the number on a scale. This pretty much sums up the transformation a lot of people report. Those afternoon energy crashes, gone, replaced with stable, all-day energy. So many people see a dramatic improvement in their skin as that inflammation goes down. And that brain fog, it lifts, replaced by better focus and memory. And all that chronic inflammation, it starts to subside, which can lead to less joint pain and stiffness. It's a total game changer. And for some people, the change is just, whoa. One user on Reddit cut out added sugar for a month and was just shocked by the impact on their skin. This kind of visible, tangible result is one of the things that keeps people going. But you know what? the most significant changes are probably the ones you can't even see in the mirror. Cutting added sugar lowers your risk of developing type 2 diabetes, it helps your liver shed harmful fat, it improves your heart health by reducing harmful fats in your bloodstream, and of course, it leads to healthier teeth and gums. The point is, the benefits are both inside and out.
And get this, the impact isn't just personal, it's societal. A model published in the BMJ projected that a pretty modest 20% reduction in our added sugar intake could save over $10 billion in medical costs every single year by 2035. That is a staggering figure.
Okay, so we've seen the struggle and we've seen the payoff, but this brings us to the final and most critical question of all. Is it really worth it for everyone? All right, let's be real for a second. It's so important to be realistic here. Our bodies are all different. Things like your genetics, your metabolism, what your diet was like to begin with, it all plays a huge role. What works wonders for one person might have a less dramatic effect on another. For some people, the results are just flat out incredible, like this Reddit user describes. They found the secret to flawless skin was just cutting out sugar. And this is the kind of best-case scenario that keeps so many people motivated. But then you have this experience. Another user, same experiment, completely different result. And this contrast is so vital. It shows that while the potential benefits are absolutely real, they aren't guaranteed for everyone, and it's really important to manage your expectations. So what's the ultimate takeaway from all this? You know, the real goal isn't necessarily to eliminate every last gram of sugar from your life forever. That's nearly impossible and honestly pretty unsustainable. The key is mindful reduction, specifically targeting those added and processed sugars while just focusing on eating whole, unprocessed foods. And that leaves us with a final, pretty big question to think about. We know that nearly 90% of the added sugar in our diets comes from ultra-processed foods. So, is the battle against sugar really a test of personal willpower, or is it a much, much bigger challenge posed by the very food environment we all live in? Something to chew on.